What if Marvel's boldest reboot isn't just a new chapter, but the foundation for the next era of the MCU? Here's what most people don't realize. Before the MCU became the pop culture juggernaut it is today, Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four, had already tried and failed 3 times. In 1994, a low-budget version was produced solely to retain rights, never even meant to be seen. In 2005 and 2007, we got flashy, effects-heavy Fox films with Ioan Gruffudd and Jessica Alba, which brought campy energy but little staying power. Then came the infamous 2015 Reboot, a darker, grittier take that flopped both critically and financially, losing tens of millions and damaging the brand. But why did all these versions fail? Because none of them understood what the Fantastic Four really are. They aren't just a superhero team, they're a family, scientists, explorers. They fight cosmic threats, yes, but they also represent imagination, discovery, and trust. Fox versions tried to turn them into Avengers light or make them edgy for modern audiences. It didn't work. The world didn't need another dark sci-fi tale. It needed something that felt genuinely new, and that's exactly what Marvel Studios now promises to deliver. But that wasn't the whole story. Because in 2019, Marvel regained the rights, and behind the scenes, Kevin Feige had a different vision entirely, one that's been quietly shaping the MCU's future for years. Here's what most fans overlook. When Disney finalized its acquisition of Fox in 2019, headlines screamed about the X-Men, but insiders knew the true crown jewel was the Fantastic Four. Kevin Feige, Marvel's architect-in-chief, had been waiting for this moment, not to rehash old stories, but to reset the very architecture of the MCU. Feige understood that Avengers Endgame wasn't just a final, it was a creative dead end. The core characters were gone or retired, and while the MCU experimented with multiverses, Disney Plus series, and newcomers like the Eternals, nothing filled the void of a central pillar. That's where the Fantastic Four come in. Feige reportedly didn't see them as just another IP, he saw them as a foundational structure for Marvel's next decade. Unlike the X-Men, who are societal metaphors, or the Avengers, who are warriors, the Fantastic Four are builders, inventors, dreamers, dimensional pioneers, exactly what Marvel needed after the loss of Stark and Rogers. By centering the next arc around Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, and Johnny Storm, Feige wasn't just planning a reboot, he was laying the groundwork for Secret Wars, Kang Dynamics, and multiversal traversal, all rooted in science fiction, not just superheroism. But this design choice had unintended consequences, because once you frame Fantastic Four as the new MCU anchor, everything else, casting, timeline, tone, must rise to match that level of significance. And that's exactly why the casting became the first loud signal of just how seriously Marvel is treating this project. Most people assumed Marvel would play it safe, go young, go flashy, cast a bunch of TikTok famous names to appeal to Gen Z, but that's not what happened. Instead, Marvel made a move that stunned the fandom. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach fresh off the bear as Ben Grimm. Not just strong actors, but mature layered performers who radiate emotional depth. At first, some fans were confused, isn't Reed supposed to be younger? But that's exactly the point. Marvel isn't just rebooting the Fantastic Four, it's reframing them. This isn't a coming-of-age story, it's about leadership, responsibility, and legacy. Pedro Pascal brings more than charisma, he carries weight, the kind that makes you believe Reed Richards could wrestle with the ethics of interdimensional travel. Kirby has the poise and command to play as Sue Storm, who's not just the invisible woman, but the quiet center of the entire family. And Quinn? He's chaotic, brilliant, and unpredictable, perfect for a reckless, emotionally combustible Johnny. This cast signals something deeper. Marvel is aiming higher. They're telling a story about adults for an audience that's grown up with the MCU. But even more surprising is what this cast might mean for the timeline of the film and how it could reshape everything we thought we knew about the MCU's chronology. And the next detail changes the very foundation of the universe's timeline. But this isn't just about casting, it's about when this story happens, because one of the most persistent rumors echoed by insiders and hinted at in early concept art is that Fantastic Four 2025 won't take place in the present day at all, instead it's set in the 1960s. At first glance, that sounds like a gimmick, a stylish retro aesthetic, but dig deeper and the implications are massive. If the Fantastic Four originated in the 60s as they did in the comics, it would mean their story unfolds outside the modern MCU timeline. Reed and his team could have been early pioneers of cosmic travel, trapped in the negative zone, lost in time, or displaced by multiversal forces only to return in the present day. It explains why they've never been mentioned, why their tech could rival Stark's, why Kang, a descendant of Reed Richards, is suddenly everywhere because the Fantastic Four have always been here, just hidden, displaced, or forgotten. And narratively, it's genius. It lets Marvel explore new tones and themes, Cold War paranoia, scientific optimism, JFK-era futurism, while also allowing a soft reboot of the universe's history. A retro setting also shifts expectations. Instead of competing with Spider-Man or Doctor Strange, this team stands alone, rooted in a different era with a different ethos. But here's where things get wild. If they're from the past and return now, their presence could create temporal disruptions that trigger the next phase of multiversal collapse. And that's exactly what opens the door to Secret Wars, but from an entirely new entry point. What if the biggest MCU event of the decade isn't being built by Kang but by Reed? Ever since Loki cracked open the sacred timeline, fans have been looking toward Kang as the next Thanos-level threat, but behind the scenes, Marvel may be planting something even more intricate, a war not just across worlds, but across realities, and the Fantastic Four might be the very thread holding it together. In the original Secret Wars comics, Reed Richards plays a central role, clashing not just with villains but with himself. Alternate versions and cosmic-level consequences, he becomes the strategist, the moral dilemma, the man who builds and breaks universes. And what has Marvel been doing in Phase 4 and 5? Introducing Kang, a descendant of Reed, exploring incursions in Doctor Strange 2, unveiling the Council of Kangs, showing us multiversal collisions, universes collapsing in on themselves. Now imagine this, the Fantastic Four return to the present after being lost in the quantum realm or negative zone, but time has changed, the multiverse is fracturing, and the only mind capable of understanding or stopping it is Reed. Not Thor, not Strange. Reed Richards, this shifts the entire axis of the MCU. Instead of a war between heroes and villains, it becomes a battle of ideologies with Reed caught between the logic of preservation and the ethics of sacrifice. But there's one more layer, because the introduction of Reed doesn't just set up Secret Wars, it also reintroduces his greatest enemy, a character whose shadow looms over everything. And yes, we finally reached Doom, but this time he isn't just a villain. Everyone's expecting Doom, but what if Marvel is thinking bigger? Dr. Doom is a name that carries weight. He's not just another supervillain. He's royalty, sorcerer, technocrat, and tragic visionary all in one. And yes, he will come, but insiders suggest that 2025's Fantastic Four may only tease Doom's full rise, saving his true arc for a much bigger payoff. So who takes the stage first? One name keeps surfacing, Annihilus, ruler of the negative zone, embodiment of entropy, and one of the most underrated cosmic threats in Marvel lore. Introducing the negative zone not only ties directly to classic FF storylines, it also explains where the team's been lost all this time, a dimension of chaos, decay, and unfiltered quantum instability, the perfect breeding ground for a Phase 6 level threat. Then there's Galactus, not as a villain, but as a cosmic force beyond good and evil, a being who consumes worlds and resets balance. He doesn't hate Earth, he needs it, and Reed Richards may be the only one brilliant enough to negotiate with him. Introducing multiple layered threats early on allows Marvel to diversify tension. Not everything is Kang, not everything is Doom. The MCU is evolving from a linear conflict into a multi-vector mythology where different arcs, cosmic, magical, multiversal, and grounded collide at once. And what makes it work is this: Reed and his team don't just punch things, they solve things or try to. But the question is, what if solving one threat unleashes another? And here's the twist: every decision Reed makes, every villain he contains, may push the timeline closer to collapse. And for all of this to truly matter emotionally, one more thing is needed: family, their inner conflict. What if the most important movie in Marvel's next phase doesn't look like a Marvel movie at all? No sky battles, no infinity stones, no multiverse exposition dumps, just 4 people in a lab on a rocket trying to make sense of a universe that's breaking apart and not lose each other in the process. That's the genius of Fantastic Four 2025. It's not another hero's journey, it's a return to wonder, to questions not answers, to mystery not mythology. It's Marvel pressing pause on the noise and asking, what if we start over? Not with a bang, but with a family? This isn't just a reboot of a team, it's a reset of tone, values, and vision. The Fantastic Four were Marvel's first, and now they might be the first step forward into something entirely new. A phase not defined by escalation but by reconnection. And maybe, just maybe, that's the evolution we didn't know we needed. So guys, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.